Okay, we are live on YouTube, but
All
not on
right.
Facebook yet. And Facebook. Okay, we're live. Yeah, I'm going to wait a little bit while we wait for some people to get connected here. And I have to double check a couple things, make sure that we're streaming in the right places. It looks like we are, but uh, you know, there's always a moment of like, is this working or not? It looks like it. Uh, those of you who are tuning in right now, feel free to post a comment just so I know that things are coming through and working. And then we will get started here very shortly. I appreciate you coming on, Kenny.
Yeah, happy to be here. I was just admiring your Calvin and Hobbes back there. It was my childhood favorites.
Oh yeah, it's the best. My wife Kyra, she actually drew that and painted that for me. So it's a
Sweet.
it's something I very much love. It's Calvin and Hobbes was like a very short period of time because all they did was the comic strip and then that was it. Like there wasn't anything else. So and the books, I suppose.
Yeah. So relatable in so many ways.
I know. Yeah. And there's depth. Like you can like as a kid you can appreciate it and then as an adult you can appreciate it and there's different depths to the humor all the way through.
Yeah.
Barbara says it sounds good. John Candle, my uncle, says Facebook and YouTube are working. Jessica Vick, awesome. Thank you all for hopping in here. All right. So I'm Jamin and I'm doing another ALC interview, which I just recently restarted. And I've been talking with Kenny about coming on for, I don't know, it's probably been almost 2 years or something. Like what it was like fairly early when I started doing these, but it never quite lined up. Our schedules are busy and it was hard to find time. Luckily, snagged you for this one. And so I appreciate you coming on, Kenny. It's awesome to have you on.
Yeah, we're finally happy we were able to make this happen.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to start off how I usually do and ask, whose boy are you? Where'd you grow up? Like, kind of give us the background.
Whose boy are you? I am Scott and Karen Niemitalo. Scott would be Carl and Margie Niemitalo's boy. And my mom Karen is Wallace and um, Janet Kopanen
Mm-hmm.
from Houghton, Michigan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I,
And where'd you grow up?
so yeah, I grew up. Well, I was born in New Hampshire. My
Mm-hmm.
parents moved to North Carolina when I was about 4 years old. So I've been here in North Carolina for 33 years,
Okay.
34 years, somewhere in there.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're sticking it out there. Did you live anywhere else or have you just kind of stayed in that area the whole time?
No, so I've spent most of my life here, but I've traveled. I've been to 48 states,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
including driving to Alaska for 5 or 6 months one summer
Hmm.
just to go see the wilderness, and
Yeah.
spent 3 months out there in Washington one winter just to snowboard.
Okay.
When I got married to my wife Maria, she's from Ironwood, Michigan, so we
Yeah.
spent some time there when we first got married. So
Yeah.
yeah, jumped around a little bit, but for the most part, North Carolina's home.
Yeah. Maria is related to me. I think a second or a third cousin somewhere in there, over on the Candle side, I believe, because my mom was a Candle. So a little connection there. Always have
Yeah,
to do that, of course.
yeah. Maria Estela, Bruce and Sharon Estela's daughter. So
Yep. And how many kids do you have?
I've got two girls.
Yep.
Well, actually, you guys see them in the back here. I
Yeah.
got Esme and Hazel.
Yeah.
They're about to be 9 and 4.
Yeah. Awesome. And we'll be talking a little bit more about, I believe it was Hazel, right? Who
Yeah,
had the
yeah,
transplant. We'll be talking more about her and uh, that whole thing, the scenario, and how that came to be. So the main reason that I was really interested in having you on, of course, was you've had kind of an extraordinary, different, very different experience with competing in American Ninja Warrior, which is well, explain what that is first, just sort of in a general terms. Like, what is it?
So American Ninja Warrior is basically an obstacle course over water. So anything you can think of from hanging to jumping, swinging, flying through the air, and hope you don't fall and land in some cold water.
Yeah, and this, it's kind of a big deal. There's a lot of people who compete. They want to be at the main events. And how many? There's one per year, right? Like one big one.
Yeah, so they do it. They film once a year. It's yeah, it's a TV show. It's not
Mhm.
we like to look at it as a competition, but it's a TV show. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of people that have wanted to go and do it, but out of 70, 80,000 applicants, they only take about 400 or 500 people every
yeah,
year. So it's like I said, it's a TV show, so
yeah.
a lot of luck in getting on.
So so that sort of like acrobatic, very athletic movement type stuff, have you always been like that? Like when you were a kid, did you climb trees? Did you jump on stuff? Were you just always that way?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's yeah, we grew up we had property, so
Mm-hmm.
climbing every tree, building tree forts, figuring out how we're gonna cross a creek, um, building log bridges, all the stuff you see on the American Ninja Warrior is very similar to the rope swings into the pond. You get to learn all that type of movement and feel. So, yep, definitely grew up with that dynamic and had a lot of buddies that were very competitive with each other. So we'd always figure out who could do it the fastest or the strongest. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was very natural to me.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And so you grew up there, like when you graduated from high school, or when you came out of, like, and started becoming an adult and figuring out what you wanted to do. What like what what did you do for work then, and kind of what do you do for work on a day-to-day basis now?
Yeah. So I mean, like most of us Finns, we'd come up in a construction world around it
Mm-hmm.
anyway. And, I worked every summer, whether I wanted to or not,
Yep.
carrying rebar and pouring concrete. So graduated, didn't really have much desire to go back to school.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't really know what I'd go to school for. So just, dove right in and started learning the trade of commercial concrete. So that's what I've been doing
Mm-hmm.
ever since about 18 years now.
18 years. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did so I didn't do a lot of concrete. I did a lot of construction. I did framing, excavation. My dad owned an excavating company, and um, really more on that line of things. But of course, when we were doing excavation, we worked with around and with concrete workers all the time, and they were always in the best shape. Like those guys were always, it was like, wow, because they had to move. I mean, the concrete does not sit still. You got to move. You got to make it happen,
Yeah,
or you get
it's
behind it.
not waiting for nobody.
No, exactly. Yeah,
You're on a
there's no like,
timeline and
I'm tired, I got to take a break. No, you got to do it.
yeah, no, I have that conversation a lot. I work out quite a bit now
Yeah,
and with somebody's gym and whatever. And it's a different strength. The
yeah,
work, construction, farm strength, working man strength is totally different than anything you're going to get in the gym. So,
right.
um, and a lot of people had asked me that when I was doing ninjas, like, what do you do? And I really didn't do a whole lot as far
Yeah,
as getting stronger in any type of gym setting. It was more just, what I had already built and then just fine tuning more of the movement than the strength.
that is interesting. I definitely want to talk more about how you train for this sort of thing. Before we do, when was there any precursor to this? Did you compete in anything that was prior to this? Like, was there anything like that, or was your first introduction to this sort of competition really American Ninja Warrior?
Yeah, so yeah, it's a fun way how it got started. I was just a shy dude, don't want to really be in front of nobody, don't want to talk to nobody, even just coming on here, it's just it's not comfortable. So
Sure.
So I got started. No, never did any type of competition like that. I don't like being in a competition spotlight, period. It just gives
Mhm.
me a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
I'd rather go do me behind the scenes and
Yeah.
compete more or less compete with myself and what I think I'm capable of than
Yep.
doing it with other people. But no, I mean, the only competing I did really was I wrestled in high school.
Oh, okay.
Um, so that's actually where the guy that got me into Ninja Warrior was one of my wrestling teammates and from high
Okay.
school. And I hadn't seen him for 6 or 7 years. A buddy of ours came back from Colorado, and he was big into rock climbing at the time, and he wanted to just link up with us and say, "Hey, let's get together. Let's go to this rock climbing gym over here." And it's another thing I'd always wanted to do. So I was
Hmm.
like, "Yeah, let's check it out." So we went in and came real natural, concrete grip, concrete tendon strength, finger
Hmm.
strength.
Hmm.
It applies to rock climbing real well. So I was like, this is fun. This is good. I'm uh, finding some finding some groove here. And when my buddy went back to Colorado, and my friend Chad, who's local here, he was like, "Hey, we need to keep doing this.
Yeah.
We need to keep doing this and stay in shape and whatever." So we started going once a week. And while we're climbing, he was just like, "Man, you gotta come try these obstacles at my house. I've got these all these obstacles for American Ninja Warriors TV show." And I'm like, I didn't even know what it was. I had no
Okay.
idea. I didn't really have time to sit down and watch much TV then. I was working
Sure.
so much. And that's like the fourth or fifth time I'd heard that from even from guys at work about American Ninja Warrior, and I had no idea what it was. So I went home and got on YouTube and
Hmm.
Googled it, and it wasn't even on YouTube at the time. It was Sasuke, which so the show originated in Japan.
Okay.
So it was their version, and Americans just hijacked it, made it
Okay.
bigger and shinier and all that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I did ended up finding a couple clips of what it was, and I was like, okay, that looks like a lot of fun, and like everybody that watches it says, I could do that. That'd be easier than it looks or whatever. Or looks easier than it is. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I went over to his house. He had some obstacles, and it everything he had was pretty basic and was pretty easy. And so he was like, we got to build some harder stuff. So he started building, and we um, we hijacked a little corner of my dad's shop back in the warehouse,
Yep.
and Chad came over and started building a bunch of obstacles, and we'd be over there at 10, 11 o'clock at night because he worked at UPS. So our schedules never really aligned to be over there playing around and just,
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of where
Wow.
it kind of got me. That's how I came to understand what American Ninja Warrior was.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes
Um,
sense. And um let's see. I'm trying to think of if like when you were doing it, like you said that you had like concrete strength, you had this natural affinity to it and whatnot. So you could be competitive. Like you felt like you could actually compete with people that you were um you were reasonably good at it. I mean, pretty good at it really. And so that gave you some confidence, right?
well, yeah, I didn't really have anything to compare to myself.
Oh, I see.
But Chad, he was pretty confident in what I could do. He was probably more confident in me than I was at the time. I just liked to go and do things he couldn't do, or he'd do something I didn't do it, so then I'd have to do it,
Yeah.
be able to do it. So just that competition amongst a couple buddies was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Um, no, he actually he believed in me so much that he was like, "Yeah, we got to do this thing." Well, at the time, I was talking to Maria and getting pretty serious, and
Hmm.
ended up when I went to get married. So the regional happens around April,
Hmm.
May time, and I got married in April. So I was heading to Michigan to go get married, and I remember texting him because he said he was going to go be on the show that year and whatever, and I didn't even know what that entailed getting on, but so yeah, fast forward, we ended up moving back to North Carolina, and he was like, "Hey, you got to come. I got more obstacles. You got to come do this." And we that was our working out. It was a fun way to work out, and we couldn't move the next day, so a little more fun than just go and move weights around.
Sure. Yeah,
So
absolutely. That makes sense.
yeah, that year he was like, "Oh, we're gonna put in audition videos for this thing. We're gonna go be on this TV show." And
Hmm.
in my head is like, it wasn't even a reality at that point. I
Yeah.
was just doing it because going along with it because he's a fired up dude, and I was trying to support him. And
Yeah.
we did some pretty cringeworthy videos that year. I mean, we didn't know anything about how we're supposed to
Yeah.
video or look or act, and I don't have a very boisterous personality like TV needs.
Sure.
So I was just like, I mean, watching those videos back now, it's like, man, that was pretty rough. But yeah, we did some videos just for the fun of it and applied. And he was watching all the backdoor stuff online and see when the show was going to start again. And he's like,
Hmm.
well, I don't think we got picked because again, it's an audition. It's not
Hmm.
everybody can just go do it. And
Yeah.
they're looking for stories. They're looking
Hmm.
for personalities that will sell and attract and
Yep.
watch. We so he knew at that time we weren't chosen. We weren't the
Hmm.
chosen ones, and didn't surprise me. Didn't change nothing for me. But he wasn't giving up. He's like, hey, we're gonna go down. We're gonna get in the walk online.
Okay.
They run like 3 to 7 people per region as walk-ons, and if we get there early enough, we'll be at close to the front of that line. And I was like, well, what does that look like? He's like, well, you have to camp in line for a day or two. I camp right there next to the course, and I'm like, because all these courses are filmed outdoors. They're all set
Yeah.
up outdoors at the time. So I'm like, yeah, whatever, man. Yeah, that's what we'll do. Well, then he calls me. Um, he called me like 3 weeks earlier than we were expecting. He's like, hey, they're building the course in Miami. The walk online has started as of right now. I've got somebody that's there that they're telling me they just started the walk online. And I'm like, so are you going? He's like, yeah, we need to go tomorrow. And this is a week before the thing was supposed to film.
Wow.
So I was like, man, I don't know about all this. And I talked to Maria about it. She goes, well, first of all, this is like a TV show, right? Like you're gonna be in front of people and you gotta
She kind of
like
knows you. You're not like
yeah.
seeking the limelight.
And she knows I run from those situations. So I was like, yeah, but I'm just going to support Chad. I'm not, you know, it's chances of us getting on this thing is nothing anyway. So, um, Chad actually, Chad actually bought my plane ticket because he believed in me so much.
Wow,
He
that's
bought
amazing.
because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to go afford it, whatever.
Sure.
He's like,
Yeah.
no, you have to go. I'm buying your ticket. I'm going to pay for your food while we're there. We're going to be you're going with me. So he
Yeah.
pretty much made me go. um, so we rushed. We got down there. That it was a Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. We landed, and he gets an update. Hey, the walk on line's up to 11 people at this point. This is 6 days early from when we're going to film, and I'm like,
Wow.
man, we're gonna this. There's no chance we're gonna get on this thing when they only run like 7 people out of the walk on line.
Wow.
So we get off the plane and we see a guy walking that he recognized from the show in the airport. And he's like, that dude's heading for the walk on line. We got to go. We left our bags and everything at the airport, jumped on a tram, took off, jumped on another tram, and ended up in Bayfront Park in Miami, downtown Miami, Florida, running up in the dark and signed in as number 13 and number 14 on this walk on line
What?
right before 6 more people piled in behind us. And
And this was how many days before?
this 6 days before we were
Six
entering the
days
course.
before.
Yeah.
And you and in your mind you were thinking like a 2 days. Like this is, it's
Yeah.
kind of a 2 day thing. But
Yeah. I didn't know what I
that's
was getting into. I was just, I like adventure. I like doing things that are out of the norm
yeah.
anyway. So I was like, well, we're here. We're going to check this thing out. And,
So what do you do? Like your bags are back at the airport. What do you do now? Like
yeah. So we had actually met a couple guys, at a ninja gym. At the time, there was only like 2 or 3 ninja gyms in the entire country.
mhm.
And we had drove all the way down to Atlanta, Georgia to get on like a warp wall or one of the iconic obstacles.
Okay.
that we didn't have back home that was, was going to be on there. And
Yeah.
we had met a guy there, and he was actually heading down to Miami as somebody who got called for the show.
Oh,
So
okay.
we messaged him and was like, "Hey, you think you can grab our bags?" So sure enough, this dude,
Because he already had the invite. He didn't need to
yep,
stand in the line.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was going to go sleep in his hotel. We
Yeah.
were literally camped out, laying in the grass in a line, in a self-monitored line. This wasn't the show doesn't put this line on. This is like we get there and it's like an honor system.
Yeah.
So you can just envision the drama that can come with that.
Oh,
Where
sure. I'm
oh,
sure.
and there's
Yeah.
a second walk on line right here, and we were the first, and we were no. It's like
Yeah.
so, yeah. Everything was against us as far as getting a chance at this thing. But no,
That's,
we slept right there in sleeping bags. I had my backpack under my head in case somebody tried to take my stuff, and
mm-hmm.
I'd at least wake up. And there was a lot of homeless people there.
Yep.
You wake up next to them. There's a lot of interesting stories that happened in that walk online. But yeah, fast forward a week. Kind of the rules were you couldn't leave the area. There was check-ins.
Mm-hmm.
We just put rules in place where you couldn't just come check in and disappear for the day, because there was
Yeah.
locals that would like, well, I'm just going to check in the morning, go to work.
Right.
Well, we're giving up everything to be here. We're keep our place. There
Yeah.
needs to be some
Right.
accountability.
But there needs to be some, you got to go use the restroom. You got to eat a little bit, like, yeah,
Right.
stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we pretty much hung out right there, got creative.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these guys have some pretty incredible talents with calisthenics, and so you can walk on their hands the farthest and do the most one-arm pull-ups on this tree. And I was thinking, man, I don't know. I'm pretty well rounded, but not on the level with some of these guys with some of this stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, fast forward that week, come to the competition night, and they they pulled us in a couple different groups and said, here's a number. It had a W in front of it for walk on.
Mm-hmm.
You're just on standby. Don't leave this little area right here. If an obstacle breaks or something needs to be adjusted on an obstacle, they'll adjust it, and then they'll pull in a couple walk-ons as basically dummies, people that don't really necessarily have stories that they want to show and tell on the
Yeah.
show,
Yeah.
but you know they'd pull in a couple of us for that. So I remember laying there on the mat, the little warm-up mat, thinking, what in the world am I doing? I'm gonna have to get on this course. I'm gonna have to go do this. And I'm like, I was ready to throw up. I'm like,
Yeah.
if I just like disappear right here, no one would ever know that I was even here, and I don't have to do this thing. And uh, another thing about it is the show is filmed as soon as the sun is gone for
Mm-hmm.
all the camera and lighting and everything.
Yeah.
So this is 3-4 o'clock in the morning at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So thankfully, walk online in Miami, we didn't have anything to do. So we'd sleep in the day and stay up at night to get on that schedule.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So,
Yep.
um,
So
yeah,
you weren't
so
just exhausted, tired at night like maybe some of the others would be. Yeah.
right. Yeah, we were kind of acclimated to the schedule already.
Yeah.
But for me, that much adrenaline and anxiety just from the whole situation, I was like, I was wrecked.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, got on the course, called you up. It's intimidating. Step up there, I can still feel the like environment of the water right there in front of you, standing on this platform and the
Yeah.
lights and everything. Just like it was kind of surreal. I remember it like it was yesterday, and took off through the course. And as soon as I took the first step, I just saw that disappear, and I just went and
Yeah.
let my body do what it does. And ended up clearing the first course that night, hit the buzzer, and went on to the semifinal regional finals that night, the next night.
Mm-hmm.
So it was filmed back to back that next night, and ended up in second place overall.
So just to back up a second here, you were worried you wouldn't even get to go on the course, right? Like your
Oh, I
walk
had
on
very
status.
little expectation of getting on that
Yeah.
course.
But you managed to make it on. How many walk-ons did they take? Several after you too, or were you like
16,
yeah? What was
16
that?
total. 16 total, and I was number
16,
14.
and you were 14.
And the expectation was 7.
Right. But they just for some reason decided to take a few more, and you kind of you were a dark horse. You came in as like a nobody and took second.
Yep. So
So that
I was
got
just
some
a walk
attention.
on.
That
Yeah.
got some attention.
Yep. So at that point, that first season, there was no any type of compensation for anything. There was no
Yeah.
prize money. There's no, I mean, you pay your own way there. You take
Mm-hmm.
everything is on you. There was nothing to do. But as soon as the top 15,
Mm-hmm.
the top 15, if you finish the course in the regional finals, you automatically move on to Vegas national finals,
Okay.
which is a pretty big deal. But the top 15, and I think there might have been 6 finishers that year.
Okay.
6 finishers on the course. I ended up in second place.
Yep.
And so yeah, automatically went to Vegas. And then at that point, they're like, okay, we're gonna give you a couple $100. We're gonna pay for your hotels in Vegas. And I'm like, oh, this is great. Get a
Yeah.
little, whatever. I don't know how I'm gonna get my
What
family out there, but
what year was this?
would have been 2014.
2014. Yeah.
Sound about right?
That does sound about right. I'll look it up here while you go ahead and keep going on that.
Yeah. So somewhere, yeah, it was about a year after I was married. So I got married in 13.
Okay. Yeah, it was
And
14.
then,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah. So went on to Vegas. Still, what am I doing out here? What am I doing in this environment? This is nothing like I've ever just wanted to do or really signed up for. But big thanks to my buddy Chad who really believed in me and knew what I was capable of to push me to do it and keep me going. So yeah, went on to Vegas that year and fell on the jumping spider. It's an obstacle where you jump off a trampoline over water, and there's basically 2 walls, and you got to stick between the 2 walls.
Yeah.
And I took a little stutter step before I hit the trampoline, so I didn't land perfectly in between them. So I kind of like bounced off one wall and the other, and right in the water. And I was like, well, this is.
What are you thinking as you're falling? Like you're just like, oh no. Like
I had some choice words going in my head.
yeah,
For
just
sure.
like, oh really? Like I
What in
came
the
all the way here for
world?
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But and that's the thing about it, man, is there's a lot of people that are really capable to do a lot of stuff on that course, but you have to do it that day under
Right.
that situation in those circumstances.
Yep.
And Vegas is 107 at night. There's dust
Mm-hmm.
that your lungs are burning just from breathing out there. You
Yeah.
add the adrenaline. I mean, what you can do in a shop warehouse with nobody watching is 3 times the endurance and everything and the way your
Right.
brain thinks than on that course in the moment doing it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I imagine if it was something where you do it 50 times and you get your best 25 scores or something like that, then it'd be a different story. But this is you get one shot. Like that's
yeah,
you fall, you're done. And
that's it.
that's it. And the pressure is on. But it's on everybody. It's on everybody equally. So everybody's got to do it. So I want to actually show, and I know you then came back in future years. Actually, before we go there, so you did that. Uh, you didn't. So how far did you get in Vegas? You got as
It
far
was
as like
it was stage 1. I fell on
stage one.
I fell on the first stage out there, which I was really hoping. Stage 1 is a time stage.
Yeah.
All the rest are all the stages past stage 1 really suit my strengths. So stage 1 was like my nemesis. It was a speed,
Yeah.
hit or miss obstacles. I mean, you could do it like you said. You could do that thing 9 out of 10, but you have to do it
one time. Yeah.
That one time, that one day, and
yeah.
So yeah, that stage 1 got me that year.
And so did you stick around to watch the rest of it then?
Oh yeah. I had forged some pretty cool relationships with a lot of these guys,
mm-hmm.
guys and girls,
Mm-hmm.
because the culture then was, how are we going to beat this course? How we put our minds together. How are you going to attack this obstacle? What technique are you going to use? And we'd put our heads together and figure out how we're going to beat this thing
That's
together.
pretty
Because
cool.
the mission was for all of us to get through it, hoping one of us would get through it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you said back in those days. So did it change over time?
Yeah, it's changed quite a bit.
Well, we can talk about that some more. So you go home, but I'm sure this is now like really galvanized you, because you started like going with your buddy to just support him, and then it turned into something where you did well, get to go. Now it's kind of more your thing. It's more something that's driving you, I assume.
Oh yeah, now I had expectations.
Yeah. So did you just start thinking about like, how do I train for next year?
Oh, immediately. As soon as I come off, I'm like, okay. And it was funny. Ryan Stratus come up to me, and he was from my same region, and he lived pretty close to us at the time, a couple hours away. And immediately he's like, all right, we gotta let's start going for next year. How are we gonna come back next year? And I was a little bit not quite like, how are we gonna start training tomorrow for next year? I was like, I need a break from this craziness, and then we'll get back after. But he was immediately on the course that night, like, hey, all right, Kenneth, how are we going to do this next year? We got to get a plan. We got to start training for next year. So,
right.
And Ryan's one of the OGs. I mean, he was one of the original guys that started back before it was actually American Ninja Warrior. So, his brain was already wired that way to be like, this is my life. This is what we're doing.
Well, I looked on YouTube. I just searched your name, American Ninja Warrior, and there's a few videos here, and I don't want to go too much further without showing some of this stuff, because some people may not have seen this before, and I want them to see kind of what we're talking about here. So I have a few things here. Got season 9, season 10, another season 10, another season 10, season 10, and this is something a little different. It looks like Ninja Core. Is that what you talked about before?
So that's the gym down in Atlanta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was probably a comp I did in between one of the seasons there.
Yep. Now this one is interesting because this is your audition for the next season. And so we could watch this. I guess, you know what? Maybe we should. Do you want to pop this one on?
Sure. That's where I had to learn. I actually hired one of my buddies. Didn't hire him, but my buddy Dusty McKinney. My buddy Dusty McKinney was he's 5'1" and an absolute ball of fire. And he was a 4-time state champion in North Carolina wrestling. And
oh wow.
When I was in the walk-on line checking in down there in Miami, he had actually gotten called to be on the show.
Okay.
And I heard him say something about Dustin McKinney, and I'm like, so I knew that name because I actually lost to his wrestling partner in the state finals.
Okay.
I never actually met Dusty, but I knew him because he was a 4-time state champion.
Sure.
And I lost to his wrestling partner in the finals. So I was like, I turned around, and I was like, Dusty McKinney, and he was like, yeah, man, what's up, bro? Just that personality that the show loves. And I was like, and he's just got so much energy. So anyways, when I needed to do an audition video for the next season, I was like, I am horrible on camera. I don't know how to have energy. I don't know how to do any of this. So he actually drove up from Georgia and spent a day with me filming and basically tell me, do this, say it like this, say with more of this. No, you have to do it more. You drink another Red Bull, drink some more coffee. We're gonna get, so he was like my pep man, and that's actually
awesome.
Videoed most of this.
Okay, I'm gonna play this. That's a great backstory. I love it.
What's up, American Ninja Warrior? I'm back.
But can it
Niemitalo, a 27-year-old construction worker from Trinity, North Carolina, fought through and punched his ticket to Mount Midoriyama. What an outstanding run out of the rookie.
So that right there, that what we just saw, that was like you on the walk-in line coming in and doing the course, right?
Yeah, so that was a glimpse of my first season when I just hit the buzzer for my first season.
And you getting second here. That is
Yep.
absolutely incredible. That is incredible. And you destroyed the other one. Like you were pretty close to the first time. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
My name is Kenneth Niemitalo. I'm 28 years old. I live in Archdale, North Carolina. Last season, I camped out for 5 days in Miami to get my opportunity to run your course. As a walk-on, as a rookie, I dominated your course, taking the second fastest time and sending me to Las Vegas finals. Last year, you got to meet my wife Maria. This year, you'll get to meet the newest addition to the Ninja Clan. I'm a concrete guy. I've dedicated 9 years to working for American Concrete Construction, a family business that accepts nothing but perfection. We've proven that we are a world-class company with a world record. Or two. I don't plan my life around training. Instead, I focus on learning new things and make sure I enjoy myself. Some of these more enjoyable activities include slacklining, rock climbing, and traveling the country visiting parkour and ninja gyms to play and sometimes compete. I've been fortunate enough to clear out an area at work and team up with my fellow ninja Chad Hahn and build a playground for ninjas. This has given more people the opportunity to come and try ninja obstacles. I can't wait to continue meeting and training with all the awesome people I've met through American Ninja Warrior. On top of my natural ability, the ninjas in this community have helped add to the keys I will use to unlock total victory. American Ninja Warrior, I had a blast last year on season 6. Look, it took me 1 season to do what it takes most people years to do. That should prove that I deserve another shot at Mount Midoriyama. Ninja Warrior.
I love it. That is so good.
Oh,
I love it so much.
It's so cringy to me.
I know it's cringy to you, but I love it so much. And but it also gave people a little glimpse. I mean, obviously that's not your persona. That's that's your buddy giving you some coaching, but it gives people some of a glimpse. I mean, even the clips of that Miami run right there, like that feels big time right there. Like that looks like the big time one, even though it's not the biggest one. Like that, like you're in the lights, you've got the big course, it's all the same stuff. And this was like you camping out night after night and then coming in and being like, what did I get into? And managing to get through. That is really cool. So you went kind of all out on this audition, sent it in. Did they select you or did you have to walk in again?
Yeah, no, I was on the radar at that point from getting second place. And
yeah,
I wasn't on the radar the first year because my video was horrible. And that's when my buddy Dusty, you've seen him in that clip a couple times. He was standing next to me, the little short guy.
Okay.
But yeah, I knew that's what Dusty was like, man, it doesn't matter who you are. You have to be something. It's a TV show. You have to be this to be on the show. That's what they're trying to sell. And I was like, man, that's so hard for me to be. And thankfully he was there to bring some of that crazy cockiness, that out
energy.
Of me. And I'm like, I feel so stupid doing this. And he's like, no, don't worry about it. You have to do it just to get on. This is just a stepping stone. So, so they, I was on the radar just because I had athletic ability and I had proven that getting second, because they don't want, they want stories, but they also want athletic people. It's a huge demographic of people that watch, and they need all of it. And they don't want somebody who's just going to come out there and fall on the first obstacle, especially if they don't have a lot of personality or story or some things like that. So I was on the radar. That audition video kind of gave me, I guess, enough to call me and tell me to come back and do it again.
Yeah, and very cool. Was it Miami again, or where was the second one?
No, the second one was either Orlando or Atlanta.
Okay.
I can't remember where that southeast region was.
Yeah. And so then how did season 7 go for you?
I'm trying to get them all in order.
I
Timeline.
should actually have this stuff up, to be honest, because this is a little much to ask you to do just
Um,
totally from memory here.
so okay, so it's going back. That season was
So there was
I think that was
Venice
Orlando.
Beach, there was Orlando. Um, let's see here. I'm just looking it up on here. And so did you say sorry, Orlando?
It was either Atlanta or Orlando. I can't remember
Um,
which season that second one was.
I don't see Atlanta on here.
Because I did Atlanta twice, and I think it
Yeah.
might have been
7 would have been Orlando then.
okay. So Orlando, yep, Universal Studios
Hmm.
inside Universal Studio and one of the
Yep.
back lots in there. Again, we had a ninja buddy that was worked for Universal, so he
Hmm.
was able to get us some extremely cheap tickets to go in and scout out the course. That's another thing people don't realize about this is you don't get to see the course till the day of.
Okay.
You don't get to see what the obstacles are. They'll build a lot of the course, but you don't know what the course, what each obstacle is until
I didn't know that.
the day of. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's kind of just assumed that we get to play on it and figure it out and whatever, but no. For the most, especially for somewhere in Universal Studios where it's not open to the public unless
Hmm.
have tickets to get in and be close to it.
Yeah.
You don't know even what the structure is looking like. So we the night pretty much about 2 hours before where the course runs start, they bring us as a walk through of the course and say, this is this obstacle, this is what it's called, this is what your mission is on it, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. So there's a lot of obstacles that they say you cannot use your feet on at all, and most people don't realize that. And at home on the couch, you're like, well, why don't they just use their feet and just crawl through that? And it's like,
Yeah.
well,
Right.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
TV show. There's rules, and they want you to do it in a way that's going to be entertaining, and they want
Yeah.
people to fall certain ways,
Right.
and so yeah, Orlando cruised through the first night.
Hmm.
Trying to think of the timeline with Hazel being born. I think she
Hmm.
was on her way. No, she was born, and we had just yeah that whole story had just begun there. I
Yeah.
think.
Maria is in the comments. Maybe she can clarify some of the timeline.
She's gonna
But
know a whole lot more than I
yeah, yeah,
am.
yeah, yeah. And by the way, um, uh, Judy says we love our American Ninja Warrior. Kenny, we're so proud of you. Um, Maria put a heart and emoji, and Donna Niemitalo Weiser, very cool. Kenny, my awesome nephew, watching now. You're amazing. And yeah, some others have posted. So there was one question: what part of the Ninja Warrior course was the toughest for you? But from what I understand, I mean, like it's always different. It's not the same course every time. So is there one particular that if you get there, you're like, oh no, I have to do this?
Not necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the question I've been asked the most.
Mm-hmm.
That's the go-to question. What's the hardest? And
Yeah.
my answer to that is typically the 2 weeks leading up to getting on the course.
Yep.
It's mental warfare with
Yeah.
just knowing what's coming, and I'm pretty my hardest self-critic.
Yeah.
I put expectations on myself in a lot of things, and the fear of not doing my best
Right.
can put you in a bad place if you don't keep it in tabs. So that
Yeah.
was probably the hardest part, is just mentally being prepared and mentally walking up the steps to that starting platform
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that they're expecting a show. They're expecting for you to
Mm-hmm.
holler and yell and show some energy, and it's just like, I don't know how to do that. I just
Yeah.
want to do this course.
But once you get going, then all that disappears and you just focus, right? Like you're just doing the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's definitely types of obstacles that
Mm-hmm.
as ninjas, most of us are like, we hope there's that type of trampoline is not in there because it's a hit or miss obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that if you don't hit, you're dropping 15 feet, landing on a big, really loose trampoline, and when it throws you, I mean, I think season 8 or 9, when I was in San Antonio, I got that obstacle, and it launched me. You're supposed to drop down and launch you up to a platform, and it launched me all the way forward to the finish platform, but you have to use the other obstacle to get there or you're DQ'd. So I was
can we watch that one?
Yeah, it should be on YouTube.
It is on YouTube, and I want to hit that. Now, this is about a 5-minute thing, but we're going to watch it. I might try to skip to the action part if there isn't action, but so this is 2017. So this is a few years later. We're skipping ahead a little bit.
Anxiety out there.
Yep.
Ready to yell.
Kind of getting hyped up here. All right, I'm gonna hit the button. You can feel free to if you say something, I'll like pause and you can kind of interject or whatever. But we'll roll with it.
Okay.
Up next, one of the best stories we've had all season. This is Kenny Niemitalo, a construction worker from North Carolina.
If you pause real quick.
A special
Yeah.
So this is, most people that don't know my full story, this is kind of the aftermath of Hazel. So this is the
little spoiler. Yeah. We should actually talk about the real quick before we play this then, because I think that's important. So Hazel, your daughter. So you're competing in these, but then at a certain moment you start figuring out that something's not quite how it should be. Walk us through that with your daughter's health.
Yeah. So after the first season, then I got my daughter Hazel was born, and she was home for 12 days and started having some weird hand movement that to me just didn't look right. So we came home from lunch and we brought her in, and they like, this isn't normal. Let's run up to Brenner's. We can call you an ambulance or you can drive. I'm like, let's go. And Maria's like, you're in the back seat. I'm driving. You drive too slow. So we took off, about 40-minute drive, ended up at Brenner's Hospital up in Winston-Salem, and pretty well-known children's hospital. And that's where they were like, yep, she, this is going on and that's going on. And, something's not right with the proteins in her urine and this. And we were admitted to the hospital, and that, we were in the ICU for, Maria could probably give you all this story a whole lot more in detail than I could. But anyways, she was diagnosed with congenital nephrotic syndrome of the Finnish type. And
the Finnish as in like nationality Finnish?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, of the Finnish type. And they had told us that something about nephrotic syndrome or whatever. And we were kind of like, yeah, we're healthy people. Both of our families are healthy. We don't have anything.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't confirmed, but I remember sitting in the ICU one day, and the doctors make their rounds, and they'll be outside of our room, and they're out there kind of talking, and I heard something of Finnish type, and I'm like, oh, how would they even know anything?
Because they didn't know you were Finnish.
No. So Maria's 100% Finnish. I'm 75% Finnish. So it was, nephrotic syndrome of the Finnish type. Basically, they spelled it out with where both of her kidneys have all these little, coffee filters in them, so to speak, that filter her blood. And 99.9% of those filters worked awesome and amazing. That one filter just wasn't catching the protein in your blood that basically holds all of the fluid in the cells together in your body. So she would, drink water and it would go into her body, not into her cells. So she'd get a lot of edema, and that's why she was having seizures, because she, everything was out of whack. And the only cure for that is a kidney transplant. So they were like, well, she will need a transplant, but she cannot have a transplant until she's 21 pounds. So we just got to keep her here and grow her and do all these treatments and infusions 12 hours a day, protein infusions, and all the challenges that came with all that.
Oh, yeah.
Maria is an absolute superstar. She probably knows more than most doctors and most nurses, and the nurses will tell you that. She was an absolute amazing advocate for Hazel. And so where we are living in the hospital, trying to just move day at a time.
Right.
Wait for Hazel to get 21 pounds. We actually had a turkey that was 21 pounds on for Thanksgiving, and we put Hazel on the plate next to it, and it was like, you got to get to this weight at one point.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, oh man, that is a lot of stress. That is a lot of stress. That's a lot of uncertainty. And not only does she have to get to that size, but then you have to find a donor.
Right.
And so I actually do want to kind of go through that before we watch the season 9 one here. So you had been, okay. So there's so much story here. I'm having to try to navigate this. So rewinding back to season 7, just real quick, how did you do? Like, did you make it to Vegas again? How far did you go?
Yeah. So season 7, I got the call. I actually got the call. I got the call the day we got home with Hazel from the hospital being born. So 3 days after she was born.
You didn't quite know about this yet.
Nope. But I got the call. We were pulling into the house.
Yeah.
I remember walking around in the gravel, getting the call from Peter, the casting guy, and just like, yes, I don't have to do all this other camping out for 5 days. And
because you would have, right? You would have gone and camped out if you.
I don't know. I mean, maybe. The funny thing is the walk-on line got up to 60 some days before they pretty much banished it and went to a lottery system. So every year that pretty much doubled. Yeah. So I don't think 10, 12, 13 days or whatever it was the next year was in the cards, but I was happy to get the call. Came home, everything happened.
Yep.
Living in the hospital. It was even a question whether I should leave Maria and Hazel. Maria actually encouraged me to go that year. Said, no, we're just here anyway, so you go and do your thing. And see, that season I blew through the qualifier, hit the buzzer. I think I went out on one of those hit or miss obstacles. It was like this pipe slider down a thing and to a cargo net, some weird thing, movement, went out in the water. I think it was like the second or third obstacle in the finals. I'm like, that's it, whatever. I got to get back home anyway.
Yeah. Do you think that do you think maybe your mental state wasn't as focused because of what was going on back home, or do you think that it was just, you would have probably missed it anyway? It was just a thing where a fluke or whatever.
You got to be so dialed and focused at those things. And whether I acknowledge it there or not, subconsciously there's a lot going on. You're not going to be just like everybody else out there. That people had good stuff going on. So
yeah, for sure. So you go back home, you're dealing with this, trying to learn as much as you can about this disease condition, whatever you might call it. And then, what's next between season 7 and 8?
So went home, doing the hospital, taking care of, trying to work, trying to get her to 21 pounds for transplant weight. Next season's coming around. I'm still trying to do some of this stuff, get out and do some rock climbing. There's a climbing gym near the hospital, so I was still able to do some stuff, a couple nights a week, just for my own mental health, I guess. But applied again the next season, and they said, yep. At that point, So in my app audition video that season was when I was like, there was a little bit of a bitterness growing in the ninja community for what we were doing and not getting any type of help or compensation, or
Mhm.
people felt like you're just used, abused, and spit out.
Yeah.
Well, we wanted to be there for the to compete and do our thing anyway, so
Yeah.
we kept coming back because we had our own things. But that year, I decided, yes, you know what, my daughter's going to need a kidney transplant.
Mhm.
I'm horrible at all this interview stuff that they were trying to build stories because that's their job. The
Yeah.
producers they're trying to sell me and my story. Well, I had no story before.
Yeah.
That season, I was like, you know what? This is where I'm going to share. Now I have a story. I'm going to
Yeah.
share that I'm coming on the show and I'm going to advocate for my daughter that she needs a kidney. And
Mhm.
I'm gonna throw the net out there.
Yep.
What what, and if that's all I get out of the show, I've got more out of the show than anybody that's done the show or won the show or anything.
That's true. Yeah.
So so that was the mission, because at that point we were talking with the transplant coordinator and what we need to be preparing for and what we need to, if we have, hey, do you have any family that might be matches? Do you have family? Like, yeah, we have a lot of family. Like, they didn't know the realms that we come from. But at the same time, it was like, oh, I'm gonna throw this net out here on this show. It's a big platform, and everything I've heard about kidney donation, living donors, is you just got to get the word out there, because there's a
Mhm.
lot of willing people. There's people just don't know about. People don't even know you can give a kidney as a living person to another person, and you can actually operate better with one kidney than you do with two, because that one kidney becomes a
Right.
way more productive, and you're more aware of what you're drinking and eating
Yep.
with one kidney than what you are with two. So, anyways, yep, went into my third season, season 8,
Mhm.
um, with that mindset that I'm going to focus more on the story than I am anything else. And
Yeah.
I think that's the year that was Atlanta. Yep, because Atlanta is where they shared the story.
I'm gonna see if we can find. Um, this was season 8.
Should have been season 8.
I see a lot about season 10. Oh, here's 8. Hmm.
Yeah, season 10 was a highlight for probably the ninja stuff for me.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of that.
I have that video on my hard drive that's not working. So, maybe I'll share that again at some point.
Yeah. Well, I'm not pulling it up right now, but anyway, yeah. So they use that as part of their story, how they introduce you, how they connect you with the audience, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and the producers, the years prior to that, the interview process, not everybody gets interviewed,
Mhm.
but if you do well enough on the show, they pull you in for interview stuff and try to build story or pull story out of you. I never had any of that.
Mhm.
I didn't even know how to talk to a camera. I'd just be in there just like, yeah, sure, yeah, that. No, you have to say this. Okay, say that. No, you have to say this and this. Okay, to say that.
Yeah.
I hated it. Didn't.
Yeah.
Very uncomfortable. Nothing to give there. That season, I was like, I went in there and it was just like, here's the story. This is what's going on. It was coming from my heart.
Yep.
The producers actually kind of started um, fighting for that story amongst
Really?
themselves. Yeah, like, who's going to get this? Who's going to use this
Yeah.
story? Because not
Yeah.
only was it a story that would, people want to hear and tell,
Mhm.
they wanted to be able to tell it and be part of our story telling
Yeah.
it, and became something bigger than just the TV show for them.
That's amazing. Yeah, that is
So
amazing.
that's the
Um,
year. I think that's the first year
mhm.
they actually came in between and did a hometown, is what they call it. They came to our house and videoed Hazel here with the infusion at our home,
Mhm.
all kinds of stuff about her and her needing a transplant and stuff.
Yep. And um and so uh, you went to, so that was Atlanta. Um
Hmm.
and how did you do in the Atlanta competition?
So again, cruise through the regional, hit the buzzer, did real well. The city finals, blasted through it, and then they pulled me to the side after and were like, that was a great run, but your foot was on this little pad and it slid down and touched this little bar. So they actually DQ'd you on the 5th obstacle.
Oh no.
I was like, are you kidding me? Like there was like that's where I was like super frustrated, but at the same time, I was like, well, I got to get home anyway. I didn't really have the capacity to go travel to Vegas if I'd made the finals that year anyway.
Yeah.
So
in some ways you kind of, you accomplished what you were coming there to do. You were getting the word out. It went out on national television. It was obviously widely seen. Now, did they mention the DQ in like the TV broadcast?
No, they did. They didn't even show. So they only showed footage of my first night when I went and hit the buzzer, and they incorporated the story in that night.
I see.
And then it was like I was gone. They never showed.
They never showed
like,
you again.
They call what we ninjas call fast forward. You got fast forwarded, where it was like, and Kenny Niemitalo, went through here, but couldn't quite get fast enough time to qualify for it. It was just a quick 5-second clip, just to show that you didn't make it on. Which that's TV. I mean, they don't have enough time to put 30 ninjas full stories or full runs on there. So I got fast forwarded into that one, which was fine because the hitting the buzzer from my daughter and how all that stuff they had showed was pretty awesome. And
that is,
I don't know what YouTube shows, but I don't think they share a lot of the story side of things on there. Mostly just the runs.
There is a. Okay, I had it for a second here. Hold on. Let me back up. Okay. It's a very grainy thing that it's not even American Ninja Warrior that uploaded it. But someone did get a 13-second clip of that run in 2016. So
North Carolina's Kenny Niemitalo was one of the top finishers in qualifying. Niemitalo's so strong, but the Ninja veteran was an early casualty at the tougher Big Dipper. Oh my God.
So was that even 2016 there? Or
no, that was Atlanta. I mean, is that Orlando? No, that was Atlanta.
Okay, that was.
I've probably got my seasons a little bit mixed up, but that
guy must have.
That was the slider I told you I went out on early. So I got those two seasons flipped. Yep, that's
going down that thing, and you got to like somehow get yourself up and
and as crazy as it sounds, like throughout the night that bar, depending on the humidity and stuff, because you're outside. If it rained, not rained, that bar would slide or one side would stick, and just a lot of things people don't realize go on, and it's fine. We're all on the same course. We got to overcome
it. Okay, so afterward, now it's in a situation where you're hoping someone, volunteers for the kidney donor. And how did that go?
Yeah, so the episode aired. Producers actually called and said, I want you to know we are airing your story. You don't ever get that treatment from them. They said, we are airing your story. It's going to air on this date. Okay. We want to put a link in here for whoever you need, how to get a donor. Yeah. So they actually were ahead of the game, helping, doing above and beyond and putting the links and stuff in there. And of course, we need to be prepared for that on our end to know how to channel like Facebook messages and people reaching out and stuff too. So they gave us, and then our transplant coordinator, I talked with her extensively about getting ready. And so it aired, and she actually told us that it like messed up their phone system. So many people tried to call. Many people tried to call so fast and like overloaded their voicemails, and so that was pretty awesome to see like that many people willing to help a stranger.
No kidding.
And
then
there ended up being A
yeah,
lady
go
named
ahead.
Amy out of New York.
I'm sorry, say again.
So her donor ended up being a lady named Amy Slee out of New York.
Okay. And so they found a match for kidney. Is it just blood type, or do you have to have other match
No, there's other.
characteristics?
The blood is just the first thing, and then
Yeah.
with a living donor, it's not just okay. You got the right blood type. Your antigens are right. It's how's your health?
Mm,
Let's check your urine. Let's check all your
yeah.
kidney function. Let's check everything because they want to make sure they're not creating another problem by
Right.
taking one of your kidneys. So
Yeah.
there was a handful of people that didn't quite meet the criteria once it got
Yeah.
to a certain stage, and then yeah, Amy ended up being our angel for Hazel.
That's amazing. Do you still stay in, or did you ever have contact, or
Oh
you
yeah,
stay in
yeah,
touch?
yeah.
Okay.
No, we
Amazing.
not as much as we'd like to. She's up in New York, so
Yeah.
we've gone up there and visited.
Yeah.
It's been a little while, but
That's really
they
cool.
came. They've come here on their way
Mhm.
through, and I think they're actually coming down here in a couple months. I think
Nice.
Marie was saying so.
That's awesome. Yeah. My dad got a liver transplant, and my dad's Ron Holmgren. And but of course his donor was deceased. So no longer needed it. And so it's a little different situation there.
Yeah.
But okay, so uh did that all happen in the off season then? And she then had the transplant?
Yep. Yep. So somewhere in the middle of all this stuff,
Yeah.
she received. So that would have been December.
Mm-hmm.
December, whatever year that was, 15, 17, 2017.
Okay.
She received the transplant, and
Mm-hmm.
then going into season 9, they
Yep.
called me and were like, "Hey, can you go to Daytona on this date?" And I was like, my brother's getting married and I'm not going to miss it. Can you send me to another region? And they said, which one do you want to go? I said, the warmest one you've got, which ended up being San Antonio,
Okay.
which was really cool because I had my sister Heather and her husband Toby and their kids lived in New Braunfels at the time.
Yeah.
Just north of San Antonio there.
Okay.
So yeah, I got to go to San Antonio, and they all got to come out, and my nieces and nephews got to come out and see it
That's
in
what
real life.
So that's what they were talking about in this clip. And I do want to play this now that we've got all the,
Now we're
the
caught up.
background. Yeah. We're going to come back to this, and this is a little longer clip, so stick with us, but we'll add a little, we'll roll with this.
Up next, one of the best stories we've had all season. This is Kenny Niemitalo, a construction worker from North Carolina, and Kenny has a special cheering section tonight. That's his wife, Maria, his baby daughter, Hazel, and on the left, the woman.
Okay, so I have to pause right here. I know that's your dad, Scott.
Yeah.
Your wife, Maria. This is Hazel.
Yeah. Didn't like the loud noise at all.
I can see that. And the donor?
That's Amy. Yep.
That's Amy. Okay, cool. Anybody else we recognize in here, or that's it?
If you keep an eye, you'll probably see a handful of people.
Okay, cool.
Woman who saved his daughter's life.
Going on Ninja Warrior last year, one of the big things in my head is how can I get the world saying this girl needs a transplant? Your kidneys don't work. There's no treatment for what she has. The only cure is a new kidney. We ended up living in a hospital for 11 months.
It just blows my mind that this is reality.
We were on the couch watching American Ninja Warrior, and seeing Hazel in the feature just really hit home, and just how cute she was. And she was so young. I wanted to donate a kidney, and so I researched it, emailed my husband and said, I'm gonna, and he's like, I knew you were going to. He's like, the minute I saw it last night. And so he's like, I support you. And so that's how the process started.
That's amazing.
Amy is a saint. She's extremely selfless, and the world would be a better place if we had a lot more Amys.
It's mind-blowing that some random stranger would donate a kidney to somebody that she's never met.
We have a living child because of it.
When the doctors told us we can go home, we didn't even know what that meant. We'd never been home with a healthy daughter.
Hazel's doing really well. She's almost 2 years old now.
That's one of the reasons we watch the show, is because we love the background stories. But this story takes it to a whole different level.
Wow. That woman donated a kidney to a total stranger and changed Hazel's life.
Oh, baby Hazel's crying. She just wants Daddy to have a good run. Really is amazing to think how that little girl's life was changed by her dad coming on American Ninja Warrior and having that story touch so many people, that someone actually decided to give a kidney and change that girl's.
Okay, I got to ask the first fan question here. That first thing, the bouncing back and forth, I've seen that a lot.
Yeah.
Is that relatively easy? Like, this is just sort of, but you obviously don't want to mess up, but like
The way I did it is extremely cautious and safe.
Okay.
That's probably the biggest ninja killer is the nerves on the first obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
Most athletic ninjas could stride those one step, but they go up as well. They're not just straight across. Everyone gets higher, and you run out of momentum if you stride them. And if you got the jelly legs from the nerves, it doesn't take much and you're in the water. So.
Oh wow! I would never have thought of that.
So I took the super cautious route on that one because my nerves are going crazy.
And you know Kenny wants to do well tonight. He's made it to the city finals 4 years in a row, but hasn't been to Vegas since season 6.
Perfect. Niemitalo's a good athlete, works with concrete, and that helps keep him in shape. And he's through. Let's see how he does on the spinning bridge. And right through it. Nice. There we go.
Okay, that one looks impossible to me because, I mean, I know you made it look easy, but those things spin when you step on them. Like, you can't just, like, as you're pushing off, I don't know.
You have to hit right on the very top forward just a little bit and a lot of forward momentum and just almost just touch them as you run. So you're not really pushing off them. You just touch.
Wow.
Yeah.
Through the spinning bridge.
There's my nieces and nephews.
Don't worry, baby Hazel. Daddy's doing just fine as he's now starting the sky hooks. 5'10", 145 pounds. That's the first hook.
He's got a climbing background. Should know what he's doing here.
You see him going with that underhand grip. Boom. Niemitalo looking strong. Only the dismount remaining. He's got it.
Good job.
Now facing the pipe fitter, the obstacle that took him out in qualifying after he made it.
I want to know how nervous Maria was. If she's still watching in the comments, I want to know.
To the final pipe. Right now, looks like you'll need to make it at least to the hourglass drop in a fast time to stay in the top 15.
And he's being very deliberate. He may need to pick up the pace.
Use those long arms to really lock on the pipes.
He's facing the wrong direction. Now has to turn around.
And makes the transition. Remember, this is where he went down in
It's one of those obstacles you weren't allowed to use your feet on.
Say that again.
This is one of those obstacles that you weren't allowed to use your feet on.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because I was wondering the same thing, because looking at him, like, you easily could have just wrapped your leg around, not easily, but you could have, and you're not. So yeah, it makes sense.
Not gonna make the same mistake, getting a good grip on that final pipe. Now just the dismount, and he's through.
And he says, I got you that time, pipe fitter. He just Dikembe Mutombo.
Give the finger wave.
Dikembe Mutombo.
But not a fast pace, and that could cost him later.
Baby Hazel just wants him up the warp wall.
14 and a half feet. And he's up the warp wall onto the back half of the city finals course. Meanwhile, it looks like Amy's gonna take the baby. She gave her a kidney. Can she keep her from crying? Niemitalo very deliberately working his way down to the salmon ladder. But has one of the slower times to this point, and that could hurt him if he doesn't get past the hourglass drop.
There you go, Matt.
Come on, uneven. He can transition, though. Touches that bar, and he will have completed the obstacle. There it is. So he's completed the salmon ladder. Now it's going to come down to the hourglass drop. Can he hit that trampoline just right?
Right now, he's got too much swing going. You want to drop straight down on this. Get it, get it! Oh!
Well, a good run for Niemitalo. He makes it to the hourglass drop, but that slow pace could keep him out of the top 15.
Keeping everything in perspective, it's a win for him just to have his daughter on the sideline. And he got revenge on the pipe fitter. But like
That's
a
a
lot of
great
others,
scene.
he couldn't figure out the trampoline on the hourglass drop.
Yeah. So, okay. So you mentioned this earlier about it really launched you at that wall because of the angle you came off of it. And they even mentioned that in the commentary about how you got to stop the swing, you know, or whatever. So yeah, yeah,
that's
I'm sure
it's
that was
crazy.
disappointing, but
It's
yeah.
crazy too because they give us some of that. They'll give you like a trampoline in the warm up area because they
Mhm.
know it's a hit or miss. They gave us
Mm.
what they said was that trampoline, so we were able to try and mess with it, and just so we're not all going out on it when we got on the course. What the guys that had
Oh,
got that
by the way,
trampoline.
sorry. Apparently, us playing that video killed the YouTube.
Oh,
Stream suspended for policy violations. Oh, that's great.
oh boy.
Well, if people were watching on YouTube now, they're a little bit out of luck. But anyway, I'm sure with Facebook we're all right. So we'll keep rolling.
Okay. Yeah, they get all picky with that stuff these days.
It's right. Yeah. I might try restarting the stream